Hi, everybody. This is Paul Hitchcock and Jack's Media, where we're helping others to grow and nurture their businesses. And this is a channel where I bring you dynamic people doing great things. And certainly Jeffrey is one of them. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me on today.
Absolutely. So Jeffrey Bauer is a Vistage chair in the Greater Hartford area. Obviously, Jeffrey, we've got to know each other over time and always enthralled with what you're doing there. You are master chair with multiple groups, and I want to get right into this for the benefit of others listening. Is if you could tell us a bit about your practice. What are the groups you're working with? Sort of an idea of who's in there. Love to hear that.
Sure, be my pleasure. So at this point, I have two chief executive groups. My chief executive groups are the median revenue size in those groups is about $28 million. They range anywhere up to about $250 million in annual revenue. In addition to my chief executive groups, and I should say, one of the groups is totally full at 18 members. The other group is at 15 members, so I still am recruiting chief executive members for the second group. My third group is a key executive group. Key executives are the people who report into the CEO or the business owner.
Yeah, so the key executive, that's one question there. Are the key executives associated with the CEs in your groups, or how does that interplay with there?
It's actually a mix. Quite a few of my key executives are working for members of the chief executive groups.
Okay.
I do have a number of members who do not have a CEO in Vistage, and they were referred in to me and joined the key executive group and get enormous value out of it.
Okay. So I want to dive into the CE groups and what exactly goes on there. So you have the monthly meeting. Tell me about first that monthly meeting, all hands on deck. What is that like?
Okay. Before I go there, let me just give you the overview of what the group looks like.
Okay.
Um, with the chief executive member, I do one-to-one coaching with them, 90 minutes a month, where we're looking at the issues, opportunities, and challenges that they're up against.
Mhm.
And we're doing a deep dive and trying to come up with some really good solutions and help them move forward. Excuse me. Beyond the coaching call, we meet as a group for an entire day a month. 6 to 8 of the monthly meetings, I bring in guest speakers. I select the speakers based on topics of interest to all the members of the group. The speaker goes for about 3 hours, and my members walk away with a long list of action items coming out of the speaker session. We often discuss the themes in future meetings as well because they're very applicable to the issues that we're all up against. The rest of the meeting time is spent in executive session where we as a group are looking at the issues, opportunities, and challenges that each member is up against. And, as business leaders, we very often are solving symptoms and not necessarily seeing the root cause. Because of the way we do issue processing, we are trying to get beyond the surface. We're trying to get really deep and understand the issues, understand the stories that the member may be telling themselves as to why they can't get past an issue, and really blowing through it and coming up with really great solutions. I think Dun and Bradstreet said it best when they did a study of companies run by Vistage members, and they determined that companies run by Vistage members on average grow 2.2 times faster year over year than comparable companies run by non-Vistage
I believe
members.
it. I believe it. I know Vistage well enough. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. So on those monthlies, then I want to get to the one-to-ones, but on the monthlies, take me inside that monthly meeting. So 18 people, whatever it is, they're showing up at somebody's office, so somebody's hosting that. And
Yeah.
how does that day look? there? People are getting to know each other at the beginning, or what happens?
We do a bit of socializing before the meeting actually starts. We do a check-in. We talk about what we're coming in with on a given day so that it really helps the group understand where their mindset is at, what are the challenges that they're up against. We keep track of what those challenges are so that we can dig deeper on them during our issue processing. Um, there are a couple of topics that we routinely will go through. For example, one of the topics in my groups that we talk about is how has everyone used AI over the past month?
Great. Yeah.
And we're getting some really creative solutions that have caused other members in the group to go from non-AI users to power AI users.
Hmm.
So that's really great to watch. Every meeting we have a host. The host does a host presentation, which
Okay.
gives us an opportunity to dig deeper on the host's business, to really understand more about the host, both personally and professionally. And when we do issue processing, having that background makes it a lot easier for us to go deeper. Um,
Okay.
the meeting is
Yeah.
really a place where we're creating a safe space so people can become vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. Love all of that. So for the issue processing, how do you decide who gets to process the issue? Is it one person that tells what the issue is, and then everyone's collaborating, talking about the issue?
So during the initial check-in, I grab all of the issues that are coming out through the check-in. We prioritize the issues. We'll process them in a few different ways depending on the nature of the issue.
Uh,
Sometimes a member's just looking for a brainstorming session or a discussion, and those are going to be shorter to do. Sometimes the member's trying to identify what role do they play in the issue. They don't really fully understand the issue. They don't know how they're contributing to the issue.
mm,
And we talk through it in order to get a bit more depth. And then the real ones are where it's a full issue processing, where a member is really up against a problem, they're not sure how to solve it, and the group goes at it and asks. We start out by having the member explain the issue in a how do I format. Um, Once they give us that, we ask them to share with us why the issue is important, what they've done to date, and how the group potentially could help them. With
okay.
that out there as the background, we open up for clarifying questions. And clarifying questions are open-ended questions that don't suggest an outcome. They're
Mm,
really just trying to get deeper and deeper and understand the issue.
hmm.
Once all the clarifying questions are out there and answered, I go on to a statement renomination. Was the original how do I the correct how do I? Or do the members believe it's a different issue that needs to be talked through? They give me renomination statements. The member whose issue we're processing will pick the final how do I, and then the group provides suggestions on what they should be doing to address that how do I.
So you had mentioned briefly offline an example of one
Sure.
that was incredible. Could you share that for
I'd
everyone?
be happy to.
Yeah.
I had a member share that they had been with their company for 10 years. They had been the seated CEO for 5 years. For the past 3 years, they were working on corporate culture and trying to improve the corporate culture. The issue that they checked in with was, how do I improve corporate culture to enhance organizational growth? And we went at it with clarifying questions. By the time we got to the statement renomination, the statement renomination that that person accepted was, how do I replace my chief operating officer?
Hmm. Yeah.
The group had recognized there was nothing wrong with all the initiatives that they had tried for corporate culture. It was the chief operating officer who was a roadblock to implementation.
Yeah. Huge. A huge
This
discovery.
the CEO shared with me the fear of replacing the COO
Oh, yeah.
and trusted the group enough, fired the chief operating officer, and was amazed when the entire organization came up to them and said, "What took you so long?" There
Yeah,
was
that's,
a total turnaround in the corporate culture from that day forward.
yeah, it's an amazing story. Yeah, because it's a massive solution that came out of that exercise that with a huge result. Uh,
And this was not a small company. This was a 400-person company.
yeah, big, very,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a great example. Great. I just felt it'd be helpful for people to hear exactly what can happen in the discussions there. So the monthlies are fantastic. The one-to-ones when you're doing that, um, how do you handle those? Are you going there and just zipping here, opening the ears up and listening to what they have going on, and then responding? Like, how do people treat you in those meetings?
Yeah. Again, it's a safe space. My members are comfortable being very vulnerable. And I'm definitely listening. I'm asking a lot of questions. I try to be very curious. I don't want to come up with solutions for them. I really want to help them find the solutions for themselves
Oh, that's
by
great.
digging deeper, getting a better understanding, and really figuring out what can be done differently. There are times during a one-to-one where something will come up and it's really a teaching moment. And I might teach a new technique. I might suggest something that they could try. And it's a playground where they can play with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll do role playing. They're up against some big issue. They don't know how to handle it with the individual. And one of us will play the individual and the other will try to play it out. And we get to really practice it and see how could it be done better. Is it being done well? Could it be done better?
Okay, I need you to step in with for marriage counseling with me because you, I'm kidding. But I mean, it is that way that when you mentioned not not throwing solutions at them, but having them with you come to the solution, they recognize it. There's a art to doing that. That's not easy. So that I see the value of that big time. Yeah.
Excellent.
Do you enjoy those one-to-ones?
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Paul, I come off before the Vistage work. I came off a 45-year career in financial services.
Mhm.
I ran my own companies. I built organizations. I turned unprofitable companies profitable. I was like all over the spectrum in the stuff I was doing. Very large organizations as well. Morgan Stanley, Deutsche Bank, hedge fund administrator that administers today about $1.5 trillion in assets. I brought him from nothing to about $750 billion in assets under administration.
It's insane.
And the
Yeah.
one thing that was common throughout my entire 45-year career, I felt I had very strong soft skills, and I really couldn't care about the hard skills. I couldn't care about accounting. I couldn't care about
Oh,
reference data. I couldn't care about all those hard skills. I was all about how do we build better process? How do we grow the organization? How do I grow my people? How do I help them be the best that they can be? In Vistage, that's all I do.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
no longer hard skills.
Yeah.
It's doing the work that I've loved for the last 50 years,
Yeah.
45 years before, and now five, actually 6 years in Vistage.
Yeah. You've got a passion for it, and it always
Absolutely.
comes out for sure. Uh, who would you like to add to the group? Who are you looking for?
That's a great question. I definitely would like to add a few more manufacturers to one of my groups. Um, and actually, I'm going to take your question and take it the opposite way. Who am I not looking to add might be a better question. Um, I really have a number of wealth managers. I have a number of managed service providers. Those two industries, I would say I'm pretty saturated. And all other industries, I'm very open to taking folks on. Um, I find it difficult to say who do I want because I always learn about new businesses
Good
that
point.
would not have been on my radar screen.
Good point.
For
Yeah.
example, I have a funeral director. He owns 3 funeral parlors, you know? The issues he brings up are amazing, and it really engages the group.
Yeah.
You know, if you had asked me a year or two ago, do you want a funeral director? I would have thought like, probably not. I love
Big
having
business.
a group.
Big,
It's a
yeah.
great business.
Big business. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I do with nonprofits, and I love the mindset of my nonprofits. You know, they believe that just because it's a nonprofit, that just means they can't distribute any profits at the end of the year. They run them like regular businesses.
Heck
They
yeah.
are great contributors to the group.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you mentioned funeral director growing up in San Diego there at church, when I go to church, Mr. Mitchell owned Merkley Mitchell Mortuary and big guy. And he was known for giving you a big hug after mass in the church hall when you're eating donuts and coffee. And we used to joke, he's just sizing you up for your coffin later on.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, but I got a taste of that business back then, knowing that family. That's a good business. Well, wonderful. And I want to tell people too that wherever you're watching this, because we simulcast this everywhere, LinkedIn, YouTube, Jeffrey's information is going to be around this, around the video, and highly encourage you to get connected and find out, what's going on. I know you've got, Jeffrey, some very dynamic leaders in your group, and doing some great things. So this has been awesome. I love insight into what you're doing. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
And thank you, Paul. I really appreciate you doing this today. And I look forward to meeting everyone that's watching this.
Awesome. All right. We'll talk soon.